In this lesson, you're going to improve your fluency in English, and we're going to do this by reading a news article together. And this news article is at the C1 level. So you'll learn a lot of advanced vocabulary, advanced expressions, advanced grammar, and advanced pronunciation. And don't worry, because I explain all the complex concepts and make them very easy to understand. Welcome back to JForrest English. I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, I'll read the headline. Is the Colosseum crumbling? I'm sure you recognize the Colosseum in this picture, a monument that is known around the world. Is the Colosseum crumbling? Let's talk about crumbling. The verb is to crumble, and that means to break one item, one thing, into smaller pieces. So this is commonly used with homes or structures or building, especially when they're made of a material that can break into smaller pieces like stone, like the Colosseum. Now, this is also commonly used in cooking. So my example here, we crumbled some nuts over the pie. So you take one whole nut, even though a nut is very small, and then you break it into smaller pieces, and then you can crumble it over the pie. So you have small pieces of nuts on your pie. So very common in cooking and also very common for buildings, especially stone buildings. And here it's in the present continuous. Is the Colosseum crumbling? So our verb to be is simply because they're asking if this is taking place right now. Now notice the Colosseum. For the name of this monument, this structure, you need the article the, because there is only one Colosseum. It is unique, the, and Colosseum is capitalized. You can't tell here because every first letter is capitalized in the title, but Colosseum is always spelled with a capital C. So the, which does not have to be capitalized, but Colosseum, the C is always capitalized because it's considered a proper noun. And we use the because it's unique. There's only one. Don't worry about taking these notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF, so you can look for the link in the description. I chose this article because I am going to Rome next week, and the first thing I'm doing in Rome is going to the Colosseum. I already have my ticket booked. So you can write in the comments, have a great trip, Jennifer. We also simply borrow the French expression bon voyage, very commonly said bon voyage, which means have a great trip. So you can say have a great trip, Jennifer, or you can borrow the French expression and say bon voyage. I probably should know the Italian expression for that, but I unfortunately don't know it. So if you know the Italian expression, put it in the comments as well. And don't worry, I will share lots of pictures and videos as well of the Colosseum so you can experience the trip with me. Let's continue with the article and learn more about the Colosseum. The Colosseum, so here notice capital C. In this case, the T is capitalized because it starts a sentence. And we always capitalize the first letter that starts a new sentence, just like this is capitalized, this is capitalized. So that's why the T is capitalized, but the C is always capitalized. Colosseum. The Colosseum is a giant amphitheater. Don't let this long word confuse you. This pronunciation is very simple. Just say the word theater, which you already know how to pronounce. Theater. Now for this, ampa, pa. So don't let this spelling confuse you. Pa, ampa. Now the syllable stress is on the first syllable. So let's combine the sounds together and we'll emphasize the first syllable. Amphitheater. Very simple, right? I wrote the phonetic spelling here for you. Now, giant, of course, you know this word. Giant means very large, but did you know that a synonym of giant, very large, is colossal? Colossal. So you could say the Colosseum is a colossal amphitheater because they look very similar. So I think that's a nice pair to combine. In the center of Rome, Italy. It is one of the world's most iconic sites. Listen to the pronunciation here. Iconic, iconic, iconic. So we pronounce this as an I sound, iconic. And the syllable stress is in the middle, iconic sites. Now, because we have a superlative statement, one of the most iconic sites. So it isn't the most iconic site, it's one of, but we still have our superlative, so we need the most iconic sites, the world's most iconic sites, and one of the new 7 wonders of the world. Coming back to iconic, of course, this means very famous or very popular. Now, I gave an example sentence here, one of the most iconic sites. Now, notice you have to have plural for your noun. Sites in Ottawa is, but your verb is conjugated with one, which means there's only one, right? So you need your singular verb to be. One of the most iconic sites, plural, in Ottawa, this is the city I live in, is your verb to be conjugated with the subject one, which is singular, is, and then you can name that one of the most iconic sites, is Parliament Hill. So I want you to practice this in the comments. Of course, instead of Ottawa, you're going to put the name of your city, and then you can only choose one. So choose whatever, in your opinion, is the most famous or the most popular. So put that in the comments. I think it will be really interesting to learn about these iconic sites around the world. Let's continue. The Colosseum is the largest ancient, notice the pronunciation, ancient, chint, ancient, ancient. And it's a very nasal A sound, ancient, ancient. The largest ancient, now you know how to say this, right? What is it? Amphitheater, amphitheater. Is the largest ancient amphitheater ever built. So here again, we have the largest because it's the superlative. The largest ancient amphitheater ever built. It was completed, of course, the Colosseum, it was completed over 2 millennia ago in AD 80. Let's talk about millennia. Millennia is the plural form of millennium. 1 millennium, 2 millennia. And 1 millennium is 1,000 years. So 2 millennia, remember plural of millennium, 2 millennia is 2,000 years. So it was completed over 2,000 years ago in AD 80. To be honest, I can't even imagine that long ago in the past. I don't know about you. Now, AD, perhaps you're familiar with this. This is a calendar reference. I'm not sure if this calendar reference is used all around the world. So let me know in the comments if you're familiar with this calendar reference. I personally did not know what AD stood for. So I Googled it and it stands for Anno Domini. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. This is a Latin phrase meaning in the year of the Lord, which is used when referring to a year after Jesus Christ was born. Now, you may also be familiar with seeing a time reference, BC. BC, that means before Christ. So BC is before Christ and AD is basically after Christ was born. Ultimately, a very long time ago. It is the place where gladiators fought during the time of the Roman Empire. Notice this,
empire, pyre, empire.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
The Colosseum is huge. Remember before it was giant is giant. And what was the adjective that I taught you as well? The Colosseum is colossal, colossal. Not that you have to use that. So we have giant, huge, colossal. Those are all alternatives to very large. The Colosseum is huge. It could seat 50,000 people. It covers around 6 acres of land and is 620 feet long, 512 feet wide, and 158 feet tall. Notice how I read those numbers, 620. You don't have to say 620. You can simply say 620, 512, 158 feet tall. It took more than 1.1 million tons. Notice here, I see this mistake a lot. Notice the S is not on millions, it's on tons. 1.1 million tons of concrete, stone, and bricks to complete the Colosseum. So here, this is where you finally see Colosseum not at the beginning of a sentence, because remember, at the beginning, the is capitalized simply because it starts the sentence, the T in the. But here, lowercase t, but we still need a capital C because Colosseum is always capitalized and you always need the article the, but the does not need to be capitalized. The Italian government is trying to figure out if there is any truth to reports that rock is falling from the Colosseum. Remember, this goes back to the headline of our article, which was, is the Colosseum crumbling? So we have the whole Colosseum, and if it's crumbling, it means it's breaking into smaller pieces. Well, how is that done? It is when, right here, rock or stone is falling from the Colosseum. So you could also say any truth to reports that the Colosseum is crumbling. Now here, trying to figure out. Figure out, this is a very useful phrasal verb, and you can think of it, said another way, it would be to determine, is trying to determine. So trying to know if this is true, trying to figure out if there is any truth to reports that rock is falling from the Colosseum. Last week, some visitors to the Colosseum said they saw some bits. A bit is just a very, very small piece. So if I saw a bit of stone, it is a very small amount of stone. And here it's plural. So they saw more than one. They saw maybe 5 or 10 bits, small pieces of stone. So last week, some visitors to the Colosseum said they saw some bits of stone fall from it. An Italian environmental group says that exhaust fumes, those are the fumes that are produced from a gas-powered vehicle. So you see the fumes coming out of the back of the vehicle. They're the dark cloud behind some cars. So that would be the exhaust fumes and vibrations from cars. I wrote down what exhaust is for you and a nearby subway. So notice here, a nearby subway. Let's talk about nearby. Nearby means that it's not far away. Nearby can function as an adjective or an adverb depending on how it's used in the sentence. Is the Colosseum nearby? This could definitely be a question that I ask someone in Rome. Maybe I'm trying to find the Colosseum and I don't know if I'm in the right place. And I can say, oh, excuse me, is the Colosseum nearby? In this case, is it an adjective or an adverb? It's an adverb, because it modifies is the Colosseum nearby. It's modifying the verb. Now, how about this one? Is there a cafe nearby? This could be another question I ask someone in Rome. Maybe I finally find the Colosseum, I tour it, and then I'm really hungry, but I don't want to walk very far. So I can say, oh, is there a cafe nearby? What's this? Adjective or adverb? It should be pretty easy. It's the exact same as the sentence above. It even uses the same verb. So this is an adverb. How about this one? We had lunch at a nearby cafe. We had lunch at a nearby cafe. So I could be at the Colosseum. Remember, I'm tired. I don't want to walk very far. So I find a cafe nearby. And then later I tell someone, oh, we had lunch at a nearby cafe. Is this an adverb or adjective? In this case, it's an adjective because it describes the location of the noun. So in this case, nearby subway, it's an adjective. So you can use it as both the adverb, the adjective, very commonly used. And a nearby subway are, notice the verb are because we have multiple things. The exhaust fumes, the vibrations, and a nearby subway are causing damage to the Colosseum. This is what the environmental group thinks is causing the falling rock. The director of the Colosseum, again, the Colosseum, has denied these reports. If you deny something, you say, no, that isn't true. That isn't accurate. That isn't correct. That's how you deny it. So the director of the Colosseum has denied these reports of falling stone. Although she said that sometimes small stones, remember we could say bits of stone, but bits is very small. So if you just say small stone, it sounds like larger, and then a bit is just tiny, very small. Small stones have been known to fall from the ancient building due to rain, wind, or birds. So due to, this is the reason why. You could also say because of rain, wind, or birds. Due to rain, wind, or birds. The outside of the Colosseum is made from travertine. To be honest, I've never seen this word before. Perhaps if you are a builder or an architect, this is common for you. It is made from travertine, a type of limestone. So notice how they put the definition of travertine, because it is not something that a native speaker would instantly know what it is. So they let me know, oh, it's a type of limestone. So now I understand what this is. If they didn't have a type of limestone, I would understand that it's some sort of building material because they said the Colosseum is made from. So I understand the context, but I wouldn't know exactly what it is. The Colosseum is made from travertine, a type of limestone. The interior is made from brick and tufa. I have no idea what tufa is, but it's a fun word to say, tufa. Another variety of limestone. So again, notice they did the same thing. They know that I would not know what tufa is as a native speaker because it's not very commonly used, but I do know what brick is, so they don't define what brick is, but they define what tufa is and travertine because those are not common words. Another variety of limestone. So I just learned 2 new words from this article. I learn new things. And I also learned what AD was, because although I knew what the expression meant, I didn't know the actual name of it. I had no idea. No idea. All right. The tourist attraction, the Colosseum. So you can describe something as a tourist attraction. It's where tourists go. Tourists are attracted to certain locations. The tourist attraction is slated to get a $33 million facelift beginning in March. Now, face, of course, your face, right? So if I see facelift referring to a building, I know that work is going to be done on the exterior of the building. So you might say, oh, my house, my apartment, my condo, my home, whatever style of home you have, my house needs a facelift. By saying that, you're saying something on the outside of your house needs to be repaired. Maybe it's the paint, maybe it's the brick, the stone, the tufa, maybe it's the gutters, but something on the outside. It isn't on the inside, it's the outside. That would be a facelift. So they're spending money on the outside of the Colosseum beginning in March. Now, when something is slated, let's talk about this. The sentence structure here is to be slated. Now we have to do something. So the infinitive to, and then your verb, or something can be slated for. And this simply means expected to happen or planned to happen. So the Colosseum getting a $33 million facelift in March is planned. It's expected to happen. So we can say it's slated. It is slated. Now, if you have a specific date, you can say whatever the thing is, the tour is slated for Wednesday. Okay, for Wednesday, for next March, for next year. But if you have a verb, you use to base verb, so the infinitive. To be slated infinitive, or to be slated for, and then a specific date. The Colosseum represents the power, brilliance, and brutality of the Roman Empire. That's a very powerful statement. I like this. 3 things: the power, the brilliance. Brilliance, of course, is extremely smart, showing high intellect. Brilliance and brutality. Brutality is related to cruelty, punishment, death, which I'm sure you are well aware is what took place at the Colosseum. So the Colosseum represents the power, brilliance, and brutality of the Roman Empire. The sheer size of the Colosseum, its architectural design, and its function are still marvels to behold today. Let's take a look at sheer, the sheer size of the Colosseum. Sheer has no meaning on its own. It is only there to emphasize whatever comes next. So I could say the sheer power of the Roman Empire. I'm making power sound a lot stronger. The sheer brilliance of the gladiators. I'm emphasizing the brilliance, the sheer brutality of the Colosseum. I'm emphasizing the brutality. It has no meaning on its own. The sheer size of the Colosseum is architectural design, and its function are still marvels to behold today. Let's talk about marvels. This is a noun, and it's plural because they're talking about the size, the architectural design, and the function. So there are 3 separate things, and these are the marvels. Now, the marvels or a marvel is simply something to admire. So we could say the sheer size, the design, and its function are something to admire, or are things, because there are more than one, are things to admire, are marvels. So you can summarize that with just one word, are still marvels to behold today. When you behold something, it simply means you look at it. So that's it. To behold means to look at, to view, to see, to observe. So it has to be with your sight. And of course, that's what people do. They go to the Colosseum and they look at it, they observe it, they take pictures of it. So that's why they use to behold, because it means with your eyes. However, what took place on stage, so on stage meaning at the Colosseum, it was considered a stage, right? Because it's a theater. People were sitting all around, and then the floor of the Colosseum was the stage. What took place on stage with the systematic killing of hundreds of thousands of animals, and people, this is the brutality, right? The brutality. Hundreds of thousands of animals and people bears a grim reminder. Let's talk about bears a grim reminder. If it bears a reminder, it means it represents that reminder, it holds it, it keeps it. And grim is unpleasant. So when you look at the Colosseum as a tourist, you see, wow, this is an amazing architecture, design, but there's also a lot of brutality in that. And that is the grim reminder. And it reminds you of something unpleasant. Bears a grim reminder of the violence and cruelty that is core to the history of the Colosseum and the Roman emperor. If something is core to something, so to be core to something else means it is the most important part. You can't separate it. So you can't separate the violence and cruelty from the Roman Empire. It was the important part. It represented the Roman Empire. It's the core to the history of the Colosseum and the Roman Empire. And that's the end of the article. So unfortunately, we're ending on a very negative note here, remembering the cruelty and brutality. But that's history, right? And all we can do is learn from those lessons and try to improve. And when I go to the Colosseum, I will bear these as a grim reminder, but I'll also admire the Colosseum for the architecture and the beauty that it represents at the same time. So a little bit of a contrast there, I'll say. So now what I'll do is I'll go to the top of the article and I'll read it from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. Is the Colosseum crumbling? The Colosseum is a giant amphitheater in the center of Rome, Italy. It is one of the world's most iconic sites and one of the new 7 wonders of the world. The Colosseum is the largest ancient amphitheater ever built. It was completed over 2 millennia ago in AD 80. It is the place where gladiators fought during the time of the Roman Empire. The Colosseum is huge. It could seat 50,000 people. It covers around 6 acres of land and is 620 feet long, 512 feet wide, and 158 feet tall. It took more than 1.1 million tons of concrete, stone, and bricks to complete the Colosseum. The Italian government is trying to figure out if there is any truth to reports that rock is falling from the Colosseum. Last week, some visitors to the Colosseum said they saw some bits of stone fall from it. An Italian environmental group says that exhaust fumes and vibrations from cars and a nearby subway are causing damage to the Colosseum. The director of the Colosseum has denied these reports of falling stone, although she said that sometimes small stones have been known to fall from the ancient building due to rain, wind, or birds. The outside of the Colosseum is made from travertine, a type of limestone. The interior is made from brick and tufa, another variety of limestone. The tourist attraction is slated to get a $33 million facelift beginning in March. The Colosseum represents the power, brilliance, and brutality of the Roman Empire. The sheer size of the Colosseum, its architectural design, and its function are still marvels to behold today. However, what took place on stage with the systematic killing of hundreds of thousands of animals and people bears a grim reminder of the violence and cruelty that is core to the history of the Colosseum and the Roman Empire.
Did you like this lesson? If you did and you want me to make more lessons just like this, then put "have a great trip" in the comments. Put that because I'm going to be reading this as I'm flying to Italy to see the Colosseum. So put "have a great trip" in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And if you want to keep improving your vocabulary, I recommend this lesson right now.